Sources have said that Mike Pettine, defensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, will be returning next year for his third year. Which is just the best timing, because I just wrote out a whole episode a few hours ago on if the Packers should fire Mike Pettine. I guess the answer's no. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where we're no Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom Grossi, and yes, the original title for this video was, should we fire Mike Pettine? And it just so happens that my answer was no, so, woo, thank God I don't have to change that narrative and make this up as I go along. But before we get to that, I want to thank a brand new Patreon over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy, and that is Tim O'Heron for joining the I'm not a Packers fan, but I like you tier. That's not what it's called, but it's close enough. So thank you very much, Tim. I appreciate it. And if you want to support me and get some cool rewards like a shout out on this program, check over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. Literally, as soon as the Green Bay Packers were eliminated in the NFC Championship Game, one of the first questions that started coming across my DMs was, hey, Tom, should we fire Mike Pettine? Hey, Tom, we should fire Mike Pettine. Hey, Tom, we should fire Mike Pettine. I know those three things were pretty much the same thing, but yeah, I got a lot of messages about firing Mike Pettine. And so what I decided to do, this video was always going to come out today, was to take a look at the last year under Dom Capers and these last 2 years under Mike Pettine, and have seen, has the defense improved? Because the display that was shown during the NFC Championship Game, there wasn't, especially, of course, in the run defense, which if you're a longtime Packers fan, or if you're just tuning in for the past couple of years, we haven't had a run defense in quite some time. And so let's take a gander at some stats here, and then we'll break these down, and I'll give you my thoughts here. So in 2017, the last year of Dom Capers, everybody's favorite defensive coordinator. So for yards per game, we were 22nd, passing yards per game, 23rd, rushing yards per game, 17th, and points per game, 26th. We were 19th in sacks as well. So yeah, these were abysmal numbers, but hey, at least our rushing defense was in the top 20. We were also 14th in takeaways. Now, in 2018, Mike Pettine came on the scene after, the whole thing with the Browns didn't work out. And here's where we went to. Yards per game allowed was 18th. Passing yards was 12th. Rushing was 22nd. Points per game was 22nd. Sacks, we went up to 8th. And pressures, we were in 23rd. Missed tackles, by the way, we were 4th, with most in the league with 130. And takeaways, we were 29th. So just to take a look from last year of Dom Capers to first year of Mike Pettine, we improved in yards per game, going 22nd to 18th. This is defense yards allowed, obviously. Passing, we did great. We went into the top 15 at number 12 when we were in 23rd. Rushing stayed, we dropped a couple spots, but it stayed right around the same, and same thing with points. We improved a little bit, but not a whole lot, but we definitely improved in sacks. We plummeted in takeaways, and that was a big point of contention last year of why we weren't winning football games. So coming into this season, we obviously added a whole bunch of personnel with Adrian Amos, Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, etc. Again, guys like Rashawn Gary, who didn't play a whole lot, granted, but also Darnell Savage. We got some playmakers on the defense, and let's see if that actually showed here. So yards per game, we were 18th in 2018. Well, we were 18th in 2019. Passing, we were 14th. We were 12th the previous year. Rushing, 23rd. Yep, went down a spot. Takeaways, we were 7th, so that helped out a whole lot. Sacks, 15th. We went down a little bit, but it was only 3 sacks less from last year. And then pressures, we were actually about the same. We were 23rd the year before, now we're 24th. However, we actually cut down on the missed tackles, only having 104 this year as opposed to last year under Mike Pettine, which we had 130. So we did improve in some areas, specifically, obviously, in takeaways and points per game. We really kind of stepped it up there. Now, that being said, one of the things that has remained constant is the lack of a rushing defense. And you could even argue that the passing yards per game, the passing defense, we were still top 15 under Pettine for the past 2 years. So that's not terribly bad. But the rushing, we've been 22nd and 23rd. Now, here's the thing. I liked what Pettine attempted to do in 2018. It was an improvement from what I saw on the field, especially in sacks. There's still some sloppiness there, but I would also argue that we really didn't have the personnel in 2018. The defensive squad really wasn't that great. We were missing some key components in our secondary. Obviously, our pass rush wasn't getting home. And then fast forward to this year, while the stats, right, they're not all great, the thing that really sticks out to me the most and why we won so many games, and some people will point to a softer schedule, but we were 9th in points per game, and that's why we were able to stick it with so many. And takeaways, obviously, we drastically improved. Now, people will point to personnel and say, like, that's because of guys like Zadarius Smith, Darnell Savage, and also Preston Smith. But I think you have to give some credit when it comes to coaching personnel. And so that being said, this will be Mike Pettine's 3rd year of returning as defensive coordinator. He's improved the passing yards per game, right? Remaining in the top 15. He's improved the points per game, and he's improved the takeaways. I say you give him one more year to try and improve stopping the run. Now, I think that's going to involve, for example, getting new linebackers. We've needed an inside linebacker and a middle linebacker since ever for a long time. We were moving Clay Matthews on the inside to just try and stop the run. It was successful with Capers, but obviously Clay Matthews was more fit for an outside linebacker role. And this question was actually even asked to Matt LaFleur in the season-ending press conference today about Rashawn Gary, about how his growth has been slow, about do they want to put him on the inside potentially. And LaFleur responded, we'll talk about that, about where personnel is going to go, but we think that he's built for the outside. So we need to address that first and foremost. But if Mike Pettine doesn't fix the rush defense by the end of this year, and by fix, I mean, just like top 15 would be great, because again, floating around the 22nd, 23rd is pretty abysmal. That's pretty bad. So we drastically need to improve there, and we're not going to win football games if we do. There's stats going around, obviously talking about how bad the defense has been with Aaron Rodgers during the playoff run. And listen, the reason we lost the NFC Championship game, definitely a lot of it is going to be on the defense. 100%. Mike Pettine did not adjust. Even if he came in with a game plan, that game plan didn't work after the first quarter. That was pretty evident. And so because of that, they never adjusted. After halftime in the 3rd quarter, or even the 4th quarter, they never adjusted. And for that, obviously, I think he deserves to be on the hot seat. But I think you give him another year with these brand new guys, with new personnel, and see what he can do. I think having some kind of consistency in Green Bay is going to be really important, considering how many changes just occurred last year. Obviously LaFleur inherited Mike Pettine from Mike McCarthy, but I think that it's worthwhile keeping him around. And we also need to improve, obviously, on the offense, right? We need to get Aaron Rodgers more weapons, need to build the depth of the offensive line a little bit more, probably re-sign Brian Bulaga, and all that's going to, make this team a little bit more balanced. But I think when it comes to Mike Pettine, you give him one more shot. And if it doesn't, then bye. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Are you happy that Mike Pettine is staying? Are you sad that Mike Pettine is staying? And if you wanted to get rid of him, who would you replace him with? Let me know. You could always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy on all social media. See down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you all the Patreon members at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.